Hi there folks, welcome back to Rich Reviews, and my latest film for you guys who are now in the midst of this pandemic happens to be New Mutants, and this is co-written and directed by Josh Boone, and this has got to be one of the more famous treble productions of recent memory, in which it was supposed to come out 2 years ago, and in that time there was a fight over the cut, there was a fight over the rating, there was a fight over reshoots, there was a fight over characters, there was a fight over, how long the film would be. And then, of course, Fox was bought out by Disney. It was going to be released this year. Of course, sadly, then the pandemic happened, and now finally we're getting to see the film. This film happens to have the pricey tag of $65 million, and so far it's earned $3 million on its opening night. Yeah, sadly we're not going to get any other New Mutant films, considering that Josh Boone has the idea of wanting to do that in the near-term future. So Blue Hunt plays Daniel Morningstar, a woman who's living on an Indian reservation when she is the sole survivor of something that wipes out her Indian reservation, and she winds up in a hospital. The head doctor here is played by Alicia Braga, who apparently in the comics I've recently come to learn is actually the exact opposite of what her character is here in the film. Maybe that's a interesting idea, I don't really know. And Alicia Braga sort of says to Daniel, you're here because New Mutants cannot control their powers, they need to be sort of locked up, not for an indeterminate amount of time, and then you're released out into the world, possibly to join the X-Men, and they at least think that. But there are 4 other individuals in this hospital, 2 guys who are beyond bland, one of whom happens to have set his girlfriend on fire and he can light himself on fire, and another guy here is from Kentucky, and the 2 girls here are probably the only recognizable girls that people will know. One is Anna Taylor-Joy, who is doing a very weird accent and is going all out and being bitchy. The other is Maisie Williams, who transforms into a wolf, which is weird. And then, of course, strange things begin to happen. I am going to give this film a compliment. The editing here is seamless. I can't figure out which scenes are reshoots. Maybe that's just me. But there was a film I remember watching a couple of years ago called Amityville Horror: The Awakening, in which I could clearly see the reshoots in that film. Here I can't. But at the same time, this film is an incoherent mess. Because, first of all, if this is a horror film, I wasn't particularly scared. The Anna Taylor-Joy's nightmares aren't particularly scary. The guy who can become a fireball who lit his girlfriend on fire, she obviously comes back as a ghost. That's more comical than scary. And, the guy who's from Kentucky who basically is on the run, his problems aren't convincing at all. Maisie Williams, who I guess her nightmare is a priest who must have sexually assaulted her, that's sad, but it's not particularly scary. Here's the thing, there must be a much longer cut of this film in which Alicia Braga is going to have much more to do, and apparently come to learn that she is working for Sinister Minister. I think we were teased that guy for at least a couple of films, but the plans never came to fruition. I think at least at one point Logan was going to have him in there. The only person that is having a joy doing this is Anna Taylor-Joy, or off-kilter character, because that at least what I envision herself to be. The romance that is eventually developed between Blue Hunt and Maisie Williams, that comes out of nowhere. And this thing just resolves itself real quick without any foresight. And the ending, granted, the special effects aren't really all that spectacular. And here's the thing, I understand that there are just some things that are beyond Josh Boone's control. Obviously, Fox being bought out by Disney. Now, granted, some things are a collaborative process between the studio and the director, if it turns out for the better. And sometimes, I've heard a couple of director's cuts that have turned out worse because the studio was heavily involved, and then the studio's vision was better than the initial director's. We've seen things like Fantastic Four, in which, oh yes, the studio got involved and made things worse for the wearer. again, I sympathize with Josh Boone, but he's the guy in charge at the end of the day. And so in the end, folks, what I'm going to say, I'm sadly going to have to give this and only see it when you're drunk rating. Here's hoping Disney can revive the X-Men franchise in its own way in the MCU. So, folks, New Mutants, have you seen this? What did you think? Please put everything in the comment box below here, folks. Thanks, folks. Like, comment, subscribe, enrich yourself with knowledge. I'm at Michael Rich, at RichReviews2 on Twitter. I'll see you next time, folks. Yes, hooray.